My name's Fred McVittie and I work at University College Falmouth in the theatre department. I'm here to participate symposium as a delegate and YouTuber in residence. I'm making YouTube videos throughout the course of this, reflecting the activities here to the activities within social media. That's kind of my thing. Well, what it's starting to come to mean really is, from what I'm getting out of this experience, is that it seems to be operating in two different domains. One is to do with physical participation. Many of the presentations here are using words like immersion or involvement or engagement. There was a lot of talk yesterday about embodiment and the kind of commitment of the body of the participant to the activity, body of the audience to the activity. So that's one dimension of it, which is this kind of embodied, sensorially rich, immersive experience. But the other is a kind of critical participation, which are coming out in things like the references to Jacques Rancière's the idea that the poem of the audience reflects and resonates with the poem of the performer. But it's different, and there's a necessary separation for that to come out. Brecht was cited a few times yesterday, and again the presentation just come out of, which is absolutely about critical distance. And also in I think it was David Shearer's presentation that just came out of, he was talking a lot about the different senses, particularly the aural sense of hearing something as opposed to the visual sense of seeing something, and how I think the phrase he used was something like vision isolates whereas hearing incorporates, something like that. Which seems to me to reflect on both those two understandings of what participation is. There's a sense in which participation is about the engagement of your critical faculties, your ability to think for yourself, to write your own poem, to make your own interpretation, to involve in independent meaning-making processes. There's that. And then there's the cessation of that within the processes of immersion, absorption, that kind of thing. And that seemed to be reflecting what David Shearer was saying about this theatre of the eye, if you like, a theatre of the eye which separates and distances, as opposed to a theatre of the ear which incorporates and embeds and immerses. Well, I guess in terms of what I've just been saying there, what I'm starting to think about there is that, to have a relationship of any kind, whether it's democratic or whether it's dictatorial or whether it's hierarchical or whether it's oppressive, any kind of relationship requires two parties, don't they? Really? So that there's always that necessary separation, a necessary sovereignty given over to both participants in that relationship, and the extent to which that sovereignty is dismantled from whichever side that's coming, whether it's an audience just like dropping their boundaries down and then going for it, or whether it's a theatre maker constructing manipulative processes to draw the audience member in. That's going to change the nature of the sovereignty and affect the relationship. Well, I hate participating in anything, really. I have to be honest with you. I don't like participatory theatre. If somebody asks me to do something, I look away and make sure I don't get involved. I don't enjoy doing that because I like to maintain the boundaries that an audience kind of has a right to, I think. But at the same time, I enjoy the idea of a participatory practice in which, again, following Rancière, which allows a different kind of reflection. And one of the reasons why I'm playing with YouTube is that very thing. You make a performance on YouTube, and it goes out into the world and is reflected back by other performances. But it's a level playing field. It's not the audience chatting in the bar afterwards. It's that performance occupies exactly the same stage that you occupied an hour earlier. So that's an exchange that I quite like. Sorry, I've lost track. What was your question?
What are the challenges you find as a participant?
Okay. So it's basically that. As a participant, the challenge is to find a way to both be entertained in the most literal sense, I'm held mutually within the embrace of the performance that you're involved in, but also to maintain the kind of sovereignty of your critical boundaries and, kind of being able to toggle between the eye and the ear as you're involved in the work. All right, it was a really a bad experience. I can't even remember the name of the theatre company. It was quite a few years ago, during the height of the kind of AIDS crisis. And it was this piece of interesting work by a New York-based theatre company at a small theatre in London, and it was kind of very theatrical and lots of music and a lot of separation between audience and performer. You know, the conventions were all about you sit in the dark and they did the thing in the light. But at a certain point, there was a restaging of a 1980s New York disco, gay disco, and one of the performers came into the audience and invited me to come up and dance. It kind of forced me to, actually, have to say, you know. And I was taken onto stage and had to do this rather awkward disco dancing thing for 30 seconds, and then I was kind of unceremoniously released, and that was just terrible. You know, there's everything wrong about how to. Well, kind of everything wrong because I felt awkward and I didn't want to do it. But at the same time, it's kind of right because I don't like being seduced into doing those things either. You know, so if it had felt right, that would have been kind of. So I don't know. A good experience, I suppose, would be a piece called Desire Lines by a Glasgow-based theatre company, no longer in existence, called Clanjamford, where they took over a Glasgow park in southern Glasgow, and it was a kind of promenade performance, and you did various things. And that was, you know, when I was involved in that in a very major way, but that was completely painless because it was very softly, gently done, lots of outs if you wanted to get out of it, lots of opportunities to exit, lots of anonymity if you wanted to claim anonymity. So that felt safer. Okay. Obviously, part of my practice is YouTube, so all of that I regard as participatory because it's a dialogic practice involving responses and so on. But what I did about an hour ago here, a couple of hours ago, was I did a YouTube video live, shot a video for YouTube in front of a live audience, which is really weird, actually, unusual. But it did involve me taking all my clothes off, partly because it was a game I'm playing with YouTube terms of service right now, which is a longer story. But part of that was not only taking my own clothes off, but inviting people to come up on stage and take theirs off and be commemorated in the electronic afterlife, because what you put on YouTube never ever goes away. You know, it's not an ephemeral medium, and there's lots of reasons why a person wouldn't want to come onto stage and take their clothes off. For the same reasons I didn't really want to go up and disco dance in that little theatre in London. Lots of reasons, but one really good reason I think is because it doesn't go away afterwards in this medium. In this medium here, you know, there's something very safe about ephemerality. I'm discovering, which permanence is losing. You know, the fact that all of our events are being documented and surveilled and recorded on cameras now. Everything we do now, we have to bear in mind that we are leaving traces of posterity. So I think I'd be much more, I guess, in an experience like the one I've just described, where I got naked and invited people to get naked with me. I'm now naked on the internet because I uploaded it immediately afterwards. And I don't blame anyone for not wanting to participate in that kind of permanence, because it's embarrassing permanently. I suppose what always goes through my mind in those sort of situations, and this is just something I just thought up very quickly before I did it, so it's not a lot of planning involved, it just felt like the right thing to do. I suppose what's going through my mind is how far can I push this? You know, should I start naming them individually? Because I know quite a few people who are in the little crowd, and I kind of know a little bit about them. So shall I start bringing up reasons why they should perhaps not, or why they feel obligated to? Because we are at a relate and participate conference here. You know, I should have some leverage. You know, I could pull some leverage out of that. But I decided not to do that because I felt I was too scared to do that. Or I could have pleaded, that was the other thing. It was going through my mind whilst I was standing there for 10 minutes naked. Perhaps I should just start saying, please. You know, that would have been quite interesting, just to play that dynamic a bit. But again, I chose not to do that because I was trying to keep it at keep that level of sovereignty just about balanced. You know what I mean? Not make it too weaning. And that's something I quite enjoy.